Right. Let's see who's there. Okay. Let's see who's on. Okay. Yes. Ah. Hello. Wow.
Amazing. Here we are.
Yeah, I got the sound right too. I said, Chuck. Fantastic. How are you?
Good. How have you been?
Wow. Transmuting a lot of darkness. Wow. 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 Yeah, a lot. It's interesting. A lot
Tell
of,
me,
yeah.
tell me about it. What do you mean by like?
Well, you know, we've all got massive clearing going on. It's personal clearing and shadow work. And also we're transmuting, you know, the collective. It's the collective shadow we're seeing out there. So the more
Yes.
we each do it, the less we're going to see in the, you know what I mean? Well, anyway, so I've got a serious, it was interesting. Well, it's actually, it's a whole life, not only this one, but one person popped into my life recently to purposely, whatever lessons I didn't clear, whatever I haven't done, you know, things like that, you know, what's to say, it keeps appearing. Also to actually do that, to bring up this thing and okay, to let go, to heal. Wow. And I'm doing there's a lot of serious healing, a serious, wow, darkness and it's also because of the level. So it's the spiritual thing I'm on. So that's that whole test. So it's okay, like you say, unconditional love. It is so much more difficult than said.
Oh,
Because
it's very tricky. It's very tricky, and each time I think there is something that has been cleared. I have been working on this for ages. Finally, it's gone, and I turn around, and then I get another slap in the face, and realizing that it's still there, and you need to dig deeper. I mean, I think I have done a 5-day water fast last week.
okay, good. Yeah.
So from Monday to Friday, basically herbal teas and water, ginger tea. That was very difficult for the first few days. But I think since then, I feel something has really shifted and something has cleared, because we often forget that our physical body is the vessel that holds the spiritual experience. So we need to, well, in a way, it is
Yeah.
our physical body that needs to carry the experience. I don't know what you think, but without the physical body, we won't be able to utilize these experiences that we have and put them into context, utilize them and embody them, and actually
Yeah, learn the lesson or experience, because we come to experience the feeling. You know what I mean? It's feelings, it's energies, emotions, right? So you have to feel them somehow, and some of them
exactly.
are very painful. I know that's why we play this game. But you know, if I still want to identify as a human in this body, well, I'm not going to be leaving the game in a hurry, am I? As well. So there's you know, I know that. So it's like it's okay. So it's difficult. So you completely withdraw from this human experience and not separate yourself from source. And then I'm back here again. I'm thinking, okay, well, I haven't left the body yet. Flipping hell, this is taking time.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so there's a few more while I'm here. Let me just get rid of this shit. So I just shared a tribute of Thich Nhat Hanh. You know that gentleman, Plum Tree Village, that just passed away. The
Oh yeah,
Buddhist,
yeah.
yeah, a lovely man. Anyway, he shared a lecture. I came across one of his lectures today, and I thought, wow, what a perfect synchronicity, of course, you know, what a perfect thing. And I sat in meditation this morning because more came up. Wow, oh yeah. So this came through, and it's about talking about that. People dealing with heavy, serious emotions because they're
Yes,
energy. And what we
yes.
all do is we don't want pain. We don't want to feel that shit. I mean, it's like, no, 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 no. You try and stop it. You don't want to sigh. You don't want to grief. You don't want to feel that. And it was such a fantastic lecture on expanding. Same with us. We mustn't get into the illusion that we're going to be. This is happening. I see. You know, the new Earth story. A lot of people think when we're going to hit heaven on earth, there's going to be no sadness, no crime, no nothing. No, there's always going to be that experience because some new souls need to learn compassion or understanding or forgiveness. And how do you learn it? So So you have to learn it through those things. You don't have compassion if you haven't been through that. You can't empathize if you haven't suffered and if you haven't lost, you see. So this is what we all do in this human nonsense.
I mean,
Yeah.
basically, I believe there are no shortcuts to this process. It is really hard work, and it is really you can't have short, and you can't get away with it. So once you have basically opened the awareness up to the higher levels of our being, that beautiful experience is like the fuel that keeps us moving forward. And each time we go and hit a brick wall, we hit some shadows, we are basically getting the power, the strength to move through because of that initial experience of light. And the more we clear, the next level of expanded states of awareness comes in. That means the shadow comes in as well, because wherever there's light, there's shadow. We can't have one without the other. And realizing that is the same, it's the same side of a coin that we just need to embrace. Like you said before, we can't have compassion if we haven't gone through an experience, let's say, of betrayal, of anger, of fear, or whatever it is.
Yeah, this is what we don't realize. And what came, I listened to it, I shared it actually. I thought it was such a good lecture. It'll help a lot of people, especially, with healing, with trauma, grief, and kind of shit like that. So processing this, you know what I mean? So I shared it on my YouTube as a tribute to him. I shared it on my YouTube channel now, on my Facebook today. Let's hope who's ever meant to hear it will hear it. What a fantastic lecture. And it made me reflect, because before I had my awakening, I was like, what the shit did I do on this planet, Because I went through, I was saying, oh my gosh, did I come here to be the martyr, to suffer, to take on? It was like, why? Anyway, wow, I reflected, because it brought up something yesterday. This person is purposely put in my life oh my hell. And it's reflecting, and I'm aware what you see is reflection. So I know what they're seeing in me, what I'm seeing in them is a reflection. And then I look deeper and I'm thinking, okay, well, where is any of this darkness still in me and fear? Yeah. Where is this shit? And then what we forget is we are part of source. Now, I sat in meditation this morning again and removed myself from this so-called nonsense of being a human and honor and all this bullshit, and went back to pure consciousness. It's so nice to go back there. You don't want to stay in the human, you want to disassociate, disidentify. Or you can't. You cannot, if you keep identifying separate from source, well, then whatever. Anyway. So I go back and I just spend that time in pure, coherent wave, and same consciousness, same energy in everything, just source. Anyway, and then you finish your meditation and you're like, all right, well, I suppose it takes time. Anyway, so I would wait until, this is over, this process is over, being in a body nonsense. So I sat and I was thinking, and then I reflected on this and I thought, okay, I'm forgetting as well, because we all source. So as a collective, when you're out of the body, as a collective energy and consciousness, we are one unified thing. We feel. This is why when you leave your body, you actually are aware of everything. It's like when I left mine, right? When I went back to source, you are aware of everything at the same time, because we're all connected. So everything that is happening in everything, you can hear it, see it, feel it, or not, because you don't have these. Your consciousness does, but you don't have the, the eyes and nonsense, whatever. So then I remembered, well, of course, because what they say to you as a Buddha as well, what you see is like you are God. I see the God in you. Namaste, right? We are all source. So what I reject, what I don't love in you, is I'm rejecting a part of me, because that's source. We all actually one. So as a collective consciousness, I feel your suffering, your pain. We've got the dark. People think, oh my gosh, parts of us, source, that are doing dark on earth, we feel that. And same, there's another thing. This is judgment. So two things that came up to me today was, okay, oopsie, I nearly did it. Judgment and unconditional love. Now, people say, and this is true, they don't realize that even the dark there's no judgment against them. The angels and everything, whatever, are there. They are part of source. We can't reject part of us. So they go back to source, and there's love, compassion, and empathy for those that have in this game experience darkness and pain and suffering, or whatever. And we all feel it. We're all part of source, so we can't. So yeah, that came to me today, and I thought, okay, because I'm doing this unconditional love, and I slipped a little bit last night, and I was like, and then I realized, wow, okay, I can't reject. You know, it's so difficult. It's so.
I mean,
Oh,
we can, on this journey, we can very often, we can get lost. We can
yeah,
get lost in the process. And that can be very dangerous because we actually lose the fun of it. In essence, it's about fun. Yes, I have tripped over, I've maybe fallen flat on my face, but it's not about being too harsh with ourselves. It's, if we are too critical with ourselves, we actually block the process. So because that excess criticism um, takes us away from loving ourselves, from nurturing ourselves. So how can we nurture others if we can't be gentle and nurturing with ourselves? I mean, I always say, whenever you really experience those experiences, just really feel them, breathe through them, just observe what you currently feel, and in that observation and in the breath, you create the space for the emotion to transform and to change.
yeah,
And
yeah.
rather than fighting it, oh my God, I've been on that journey
Exactly.
for such a
Resisting.
long, yeah,
This is what we do. You see, we resist the thing, and then we also jump into judgment. And that's what I realized is I thought, oh, because here's something, and I can tell you, that's why I always took my hat off to people. How many of us can actually embody that? We all want to be, you know, we're on the spiritual path, but I mean, I know we are, there's very few on earth that can actually embody unconditional love. So you can absolutely love the rapist, the murderer, the whatever there is. Let's say the public number one, you know,
yeah, yeah,
person. Because everyone's projecting on this Rothschild, right? Now you
yeah.
should be able to see that person no different as I see you, as your husband, as the one, as your child. The most, that love should be equal, because we want that, and then we pray. People always pray to angels and everybody else. Oh, but you know what? We want that forgiveness and thing ourselves, but we're not able to do it to one another. Every single one of those are fractals of source, and none of them are rejected. Just because, even if they don't want to believe, they're not lost, they're not forgotten. People have this idea that they, you know, that's it, they're going to be turned their back on. No, those angels, that light is there for them in every single whatever. You know, it's us. We are, yeah, they will come, you know, in their own time, come back. But it's, you know, it's difficult. So I sort of found myself, a little bit of judgment popped up yesterday. I've heard a lot from people. I've had some. I've sat with people. I worked through them, but unfortunately, before I was conscious, I took on. So even now, I've still got to do a lot of clearing every day, because I sit and I listen to a lot of suffering and a lot of pain. Wow, and a lot of darkness. And I listen to people's darkest shadows and pain, and it's really, wow, it's hard, because you feel that pain, you see that terror and that hurt in their eyes. It is so difficult. I've heard some really horrendous confessions from people, right?
See,
And
this is
I
again,
unconditional love, and I do. But I also used to try and, as a human, then take it on. I will. That's ego, you see. I'll fix you. I'll do that. No, you can't. But to able to non-judge is like we say, oh no, you know, and we want to step back. To able to non-judge and still just love that person without any attachment. Yeah, it's harder than it is the difficult.
sitting in that space of acceptance and sitting, what you mentioned before, it triggered the thought that we are very often trying too much. It's not in the doing, it is in the being that
Yes.
the experiences come through. And also, especially when we do shadow works, there's a very fine balance. Okay, like you can walk on a very fine line, but if you go too deep, you actually trip back over and you can get lost in it. And if you ignore it, you don't actually deal with it. But it is about recognizing it, becoming aware of it, and not judging yourself, sitting at the fence, surrendering to the experience without digging too much in the mud. I guess what I'm trying to say is, very often we dig in the mud. By digging in the mud too much, we can't breathe anymore, because there's so much coming to the surface. I believe the way of how I have navigated myself through the last few years is pretty much focusing on one thing. One thing only is
At a time.
raise my vibration. do everything possible to raise my vibration, because everything else will then fall off. The negativity will transform, the mud will transform into clear waters.
Yeah.
And that's
I
much
must say,
more.
when you in a very high vibration, you are absolutely in a state of bliss and connectivity. I mean, you are so wow. But also, I mean, as you say, there's no escape. So if you haven't finished whatever lessons or shadows or healing you haven't done for this life, many lives, or whatever, dark, dense energy you haven't transmuted and left, you are not going to escape it. So you're going to come down. The universe is going to put it in your way for you to. And this is what's been happening to me, you see, now because of this. And it's like, so they're trying to see, let's see if she will. But it's also on a spiritual test because I'm on that level and purposely seeking that. So it was also. So now you get to a crossroad, you think, okay, now this is a test, right? In judgment, unconditional love. But also, where do I? So you think, okay, I can draw the line now. Yeah, it's difficult. It's like, say an example. Say you've got a child that you love, and your child, say, commits murder or does something really bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, now how are you going to feel? Are you still going to absolutely love that person and see that person in the same light and have compassion and understanding, or not? Or are you going to say, well, or someone is, I don't want you because you're negative vibes. I just want to keep all the good and only the light and love and all the great things around me. But that's what I say. Jesus and I say Buddhists didn't do that. They didn't avoid the dark people. They didn't avoid the dark things. They didn't affect them. They showed them the same love, the same thing, compassion.
Because what happened is they have taken a bird's eye perspective. It is only by them, let's say, committing the crime that actually they are in a much greater pain than the person who has actually been the victim in this process. Because it is only when we have a 3D view, a very narrow way of looking at it, we don't really get the bigger picture. But if you look at it from a higher perspective, the person who has committed the crime has given a chance to the person. Of course, I'm just. It's a very delicate. It's such a delicate.
Yes, you got an opportunity to forgive, and if it's it's when I try to explain to people, but some people you can't because they're in it. They know their soul on a level. They know that this life they are paying back karma. Maybe they did. So I'm the victim this life, and you're going to be the perpetrator. But if they don't get this lesson now, and I'm going to carry on, because often victims then will either become the same thing and go around also abusing other people or whatever, the same thing. If we can't transmute it, it's going to keep coming. And then next life, you're going to be the victim, and I'm going to, this is a vicious cycle, like a karmic cycle they get stuck in. And the lesson will not go away until you have released it or forgiven it or let go. And this is what, it's difficult when you know this and you're trying to, and you, as I say, unconditionally loving him, and you're seeing someone going through this suffering and pain, and you're like, wow, boy, and you would love, and you're unconditionally there for them, but you're trying to say, well, if you don't you can't, they don't want to, you have to be there and just be there. Because you can't say,
just holding
holding
the space at that moment is much more important, just to sit in holding the space, because we cannot interfere if the higher self is not in agreement. So that is actually breaking a cosmic law. That means we are actually violating, we are tapping into their karma. And this is not, we are not designed to actually do that.
Yeah, and we're not supposed to take on their suffering as well. So when you see, if you understand it, if you've been open and not judge, and been to these things, and you listened up, I met many people in my life, wow, that have had some of them extremely dark. Because if you listen to where the darkness came from, you're like, oh, hell, in this life, you think, good grief, wow, there's and you can see that pain and hurt in their eyes, and that's being projected out now. And wow, it's like, as I say, this is a vicious cycle we've had in humanity because of the ego. The ego is perverse, dark, dense, everything. It's just, so as long as we don't get out of that egoic level of consciousness and mind, this is just, wow. So the suffering is where you're at. And I tell you what, when you listen to those people, and you can see it's so difficult. It's a hell of a difficult thing to transmute. But we've all been there. That's what people don't understand. And especially the ones that don't say, Some of them are well aware. Let me tell you, I've figured that out now. Some are well aware that this is their karma and they're just going to suffer through it because they know, or I don't know, whatever. They don't even want to, or they put a block, who knows? They don't care, they don't want to, they block it, they put this thing out. Whatever I don't know, as you say, but it's also not our thing to take on that person's pain. No. So it's so difficult to be detached, to love that person unconditionally, to show love, compassion, kindness, everything else, and not also, because it's energy, we can feel their suffering and their pain and their hurt.
And that feeling of suffering and pain requires a high level of awareness to understand and differentiate. It's not my suffering, it's actually suffering that comes from something outside.
Yes.
But that I find sometimes really difficult because the lines are very blurred, and it often takes me going through a few days and I'm thinking, why am I feeling so? It's so not me. And then I realize actually something else is going on. So it's really about understanding the difference between what is it? Is it my shadows? Is it a projection of my shadows onto someone else? Is it someone else's shadows being projected onto me? And that requires awareness. And I would like to just briefly come back to it. Yeah. I have seen people transform purely by working with their physical body. I mean, in a sense, doing some, maybe changing your rhythm, changing your daily routine, changing your diet a little bit. And trust me, Anna, I don't believe into diets. Diets don't really work. It's about really figuring out what is it that your body wants, which might be totally different what my body wants, but it is about increasing that awareness. And by going through a cleansing process on a denser physical level, we will be able to differentiate much easier what is the rubbish that actually is being projected upon us from others and what is our own rubbish. It will be much easier to live in our heart, to share in unconditional love and compassion if our physical body is in the right space, frame, and mind.
Yeah, because we in this game, we hold that energy in the physical body. So the trauma is stored, whatever else, all this nonsense that we haven't moved out. I'm well aware of that one. You'll feel it. But as you say, it is difficult because there's two perspectives. So as you say, that one, you realize, okay, because when you are now, you're open and you're listening to that person and you say love and compassion and you're in the energy field, you're going to feel it. Oh, you're going to feel that suffering, that absolute terror and fear. And some of the things you have to listen to, I've listened to, are horrendous. Horrendous. I cannot even, it's actually difficult for me to listen to. When I listen to people's stories, I'm like, oh my shit. Now you have compassion for all, and that's difficult. How do you have compassion for the abuser and the abused? Oh my.
But don't you think that it is our responsibility? I mean, I feel, at least I take I just own this aspect. It is my responsibility to listen without judgment, listen with an open space, but at the same time not to feed the monster, because the monster is the mind, the intellectualizing. As we dive into the drama, we actually keep reoccurring the drama. I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about it, but there is a balance of when is the right way to actually shift from the victim mentality into taking control. So it's all fine to know the story, but what can you do to get out of the story?
Some of them don't. I'm saying they haven't. They don't talk about it. They won't. They put those things in boxes. Let's say compartmentalize. That energy is stuck there. It is stuck in that the ego is stuck, or the child stuck in place, that this and that. They haven't. That's what I'm saying. You see that, and you can see it in them. They haven't. They don't want to. They are their darkness and their shadows. Wow. And when they come out to play, I mean, you see them. You're like, okay, the shadow's coming out. All right, prepare yourself. Here we go. And we see that shadow coming out, and I see, because you see that fear and that pain in their eyes and that thing, and you're like, oh, wow. And some of them things sometimes I think, please don't tell me. I don't really want to because I can't imagine what it would have been like. But then you forget it's an experience. We're not this physical vessel in the body, right? We're all part of source. We all feel it as a collective source, as a collective energy. And this is why we bloody feel it in the first place. It's not for me to judge and to be yeah, I know it's a lot bigger. You try and see it from the highest thing. So I understand about as from a source perspective. Okay, that is me. That person is an aspect of me. We're all. That person is me. It's not a project. That's we're all one. It's our shadow. It's part of me. So as part of source, some aspect of that is in me as well. So what do I need? If it's seeing it, what do I need to transmute or whatever? Oh, that's all kinds of shit. It's difficult, but they don't always tell you. That's the thing. They don't. Their stuff is so horrible that it's so. They're trying to keep the lid on the pressure cooker. These are, people I've come across in my life. Some of them, yeah, it didn't. The ego, it snapped them. So they are, I mean, wow. Yeah. They're very dangerous people, obviously. Can be.
Yeah.
And especially other than people I've met and known, it's, I've had some terrible things and I have such empathy for them. And you think, wow, okay, what did you come to learn? We've all, if you go back in your past lives, I mean, I've seen horrendous ways I've been, left the planet, the body, whatever, so-called body. Wow, I had some, really torture. This is why, the Akashic record readers, some of them will say, oh no, that's, they weren't going to show you now, that's under chains and that. I went around the corner before I even went into the Akashic record thing. So that the person said, and they've done lots of readings, they'd never seen that. They went around the corner and there was my old shaman, this and that, and healer, and they were doing bowls or whatever, before we even went down to the deepest floor, and then there were chains over this thing. There's some shit in there. And there was shit in there. I mean, I'm aware of it. Some of them, especially when the person's able to see. And some of them non-human lives. But wow, I mean, wow. Going back to when you first decided to drop into a body, these are all dreams you had before we play in human dreams and this nonsense. Whatever. Let's just say we never left source. We're all still there as a consciousness, but we are projecting our consciousness now in the human field and we're playing human games.
And the most amazing part is that this is not just a game in this world. There's the parallel games that go on into all the parallel realities. So it's like we have got this life where my name is Thomaz, I'm in this body, I live here, but then there are all the other realities that happen at the same time. And each reality is a reflection of the process of the now. Yeah. So whatever happens in the now,
consciousness, because depending on our frequency, that's the timeline, that's the thing, the dimension or the level of consciousness we're going to be at. So this is why we're all experiencing different things, and some of us are not going to experience some of the bad things that are going to happen on Earth because we've actually moved it to another dimension or another level of consciousness. So it doesn't, that realm, that Earth, that whatever, it doesn't exist there. So whatever cataclysm is going to happen here will not affect you. People don't realize that. It's such a strange, it's a weird. And I believe we are meant to be where we're meant to be. I don't think there's any accidents. I'm not worried. That's why I say if you go with the flow and stop resisting it. And I'm like, okay, and
surrendering and being in the now. Surrender and be in the now.
Accept what comes into your life and don't try and hang on. This is what's happening. Now everyone's trying to hang on to, what they had. They think the old way or the old world, or they don't want this new normal. I don't want this. I don't want that. Well, it doesn't work that way. You've got to, whatever's meant to come in is going to come, and when it's going to go, don't hang on. Let it leave your life. When it's meant to leave your life, it's going to leave your life. When it's meant to stay, it's, so this is where a lot of our suffering comes from, as you say, from being stuck. We do not want to feel it, move through it. We don't want to let go. We don't want to, whatever it is, whether it's house, money, job, anything.
It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage and strength to show vulnerability. And it really does take a lot, and it's not about one being better than the other. And I don't believe that necessarily one person is more advanced than the other person. Yes, we may have different experiences, but at the same time, we are all on the same timeline. We are all on the same path. And it could be that one person that we feel, they are just starting their journey. They have one experience and they race ahead miles. That one experience will open them up and they're much more awake than we would have believed they are. So it's all coming back about judgment and putting it into a linear space. Or I'm better than that, or he is worse than me, and blah, blah, blah. So that's really the ego mind thinking, which keeps us in this experience.
Yeah, I don't want to associate with you because you're you this or that, whatever. Yeah, I know that we are. Well, yeah, when we're going to jump, there's going to be a big shift this year. Wow, we're going to have a serious
Absolutely.
shift.
But let's
This
not forget to have fun in the process. It's important to have fun in the process and not to take it too serious.
Yeah.
Because the ultimate enlightenment is there is no enlightenment. When people reach enlightenment, they realize actually there's no enlightenment. It's all just in another illusion again.
Oh, it's another fact. All we're doing is going up in levels of consciousness, really.
Yeah.
So all we're doing is, and it's a different experience. It's a different bum. You're bumping up, and okay, well, I know it's like wow, it's like puzzle.
But true integrity comes when you can jump on the ladder. You can go from the third step of the ladder to the 12th step. You can jump back to the 7th step and back into the 3rd step. So that's where true flexibility, that's where the true learning happens, when we are awake in the way of how we shift from one perception to the other. And we are not stuck in one particular way of how we need to experience our life. And embracing also the 3D world, our physical body. And this is when it comes back to sensory experiences. So hearing, taste, touch, sight, and smell. We experience the life through those 5 senses. As we refine our sensory perception, our experience change. But it's still the senses that help us giving us those experiences, which means the senses are part of our dense physical body.
We chose, and that's why it's so difficult, because we dropped into the lower state of consciousness. Oh, bloody hell, the pain. So exactly, you are going to feel. I mean, I left, and that's what I came, what's what came to me, the whole why we do this nonsense is to experience it. Because as source, when you're not in a physical body, you can't feel hot. You like they're saying, how do you know what pain is if you haven't felt, lost love? It's two opposites. So we wanted to know, and we wanted to say hot, cold, what the orange tastes like, what the sun feels like. As a source, energy, you get the frequency and vibration, but it's that intensity we wanted to experience. But then we got stuck in it, as I say, because once the pain is wow, it's a very hard one to move through. And before I woke up, I was thinking, okay, well, maybe I was just come here to, that all the suffering and pain and stuff I went through was to actually give me that. I had more empathy and compassion, so I could relate and understand and know what people are going through. So I thought, okay, well, maybe that was my path. And before I was like, okay, well, I went through all this for a reason. Maybe it's just because I'm meant to, so I can actually help other people.
Yeah.
Wouldn't I? I was like, but then I know.
It's through the friction that we grow. We only grow through friction. So remember the diamond that is being shaped under the greatest pressure. This is what's happening. And we actually we forget that. We want life to be perfect, but life is perfect in the imperfection. There's perfection in the imperfection.
Yeah, you got it. Because I'm saying this is why we got a problem on our planet as well, and people don't connect it. Say let's take a 3D example, like politics, right? Politicians. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember, and the elections are coming up in the UK shortly, as we know. This is why everything. Oh, we just let's play nice now for a while because we got elections coming up, and people are thinking, oh, it's all over now. Whatever else. No, the elections are coming up, and the same people don't want to lose seats and power and control. So now we're just going to play sweet for a while, whatever. I remember telling people back then, because it's just logic, on a 3D level, if you awake, anyway. And I was saying, whoa, it's like the voting game. I'm thinking, why do we do this? It's a tennis match. And you could see this, so you knew it was coming. And people would still believe whatever sweeties and things they promised, 3-letter words, and they'd stand up there, and you could think you could see this person had no integrity. No, I mean, they would sell ice to us, Eskimo. It was, but yet we're still doing it. And this is, oh no, I look at this and I think, wow. And this is, well, we got a lot of lessons to learn.
And also in this context, when it comes to politics, we like to blame the others. We like to blame the politicians, but they are it's just a reflection of the collective consciousness of the people. So if we don't change our own consciousness, we will not have different politicians. It doesn't matter who is there.
Yep. How many people, you look at how many companies, it used to drive me mad, had no integrity I worked with. And all the people in big companies, especially big ones, there was competition. This whole, fucking competition nonsense, capitalism, free market bullshit that was propagated, separation. So, of course, inside big companies, what happened, it was destructive because the different, I want to get the brownie points and get promoted. So I am competing with all my colleagues. Now, this department is competing that one. They're trying to slander each other. And but as a whole, you could see it from, I used to think, oh, this is a cock up. I never understood this in companies, and I thought, wow, you need to change your management structure here because it's not for the greatest good for the company. It's harming the company. This whole collective of competing and the different departments fighting with each other and everyone trying to get the brownie points for the best, or whatever, the ploy of, the nonsense like this. And this is what's always been. Then people don't see this. This is what you're seeing reflected in your leadership. Look at Trump's he is an arsehole. And then look at them just the classic example of this, which that defunct form of politics we spread around the world is the House of Commons or whatever. They stand up there, slander each other, bring each other down, hate. I mean, it's disgusting. There's no collaboration. And it's him. We're playing. It's an illusion. And this is what people do, though. We're doing it in our lives. They do it in their own jobs. How many people have taken jobs where they are selling stuff or doing, trying to just defraud people, let's say, because they know they can make a big commission. Oh, buy this insurance or buy that commission, but but they know it's going to, maybe the points will crash or the stock market or whatever. Or you are selling something which is not a good product, but it's paying your bills. You look the other way because you're paying your bills. And I've been in that situation many times. And a lot of people, I don't judge them, but people say to me, oh, why don't you just stay, just so what, just, you're getting good money, just play Google on your computer, or say you were sick. And I'm like, no. So you're going to lose money and lose a job or whatever else, but that's what I'm saying. It's so easy, this movement has captured the collective shadow. It was put out there. Let's give them a false shadow because they knew the collective were going to go through the shift. They're not stupid governments. And collective. So we made a movement to give you a false darkness to chase. Let's put our focus on that darkness and we're going to bring them down. So to control their collective shadow so they don't lose it and don't go on there. So people think, it's all being taken care of and everything is going to be good. And you know what I mean? It's, they're still under the illusion that it's only, but it's I know that. And that's what people aren't looking at. Look at yourself. We will not have a bad politician if we all stop doing this. I want more than you. I want a better car, so I'm willing to do whatever I can do it because I want, I want that Ferrari and I want that. I know. Wow. And then we told it's communism if we think, we should be, no, financially we can never be equal. I'm not giving my 12 palaces and tennis court for that poor, those starving people. No. It won't change until we don't see this,
Yes. Well, it's great that we were able to connect because we were a little bit worried to see if we can actually do the live on Wednesday. So we will be back on both together Wednesday, 8 o'clock UK time.
Yeah, to chat about real things to help people. This is just a collective, this is just our random chat about.
No, it's good because it's just like, okay, how do we feel today? And, we don't need to be perfect all the time. That's what I keep telling people. It's not about needing to be perfect. Like I said, just if you have a shit day, just embrace the shit day and lie in bed, cover your head with a duvet, but don't feel guilty and don't feel you put yourself too much under pressure, because that in itself causes so much stress, which will put you down the spiral. We need to allow that darkness. We need to allow that darkness to percolate and to come through the surface, so we actually recognize where is it coming from, so we can transform it and change it. And in order for that to happen, we need to give the space for this transformation. The space for this change means sit there, be with it, don't judge, and just go through it. Anyway, I will see you. We will see each other on Wednesday.
Yeah. What time do we
stay in touch on
what time? It's 8 o'clock. Hey, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock on Wednesday.
Because I can't do any more posts right now. Okay, 8 o'clock Wednesday. I'm gonna.
I've announced it. I've announced it on Instagram as well. So I will do some Instagram posts before then for Wednesday to get people over to TikTok if they choose to.
Yeah, and I wanted to share your recovery drink on my page. I think it was so amazing, but I can't because I can't post on my page now at the moment. You know, because of this. I posted whatever nonsense.
We can chat about this on Wednesday. Remind me, because there's something that I want to say there. Remind me on Wednesday about the recovery drink.
I love that post. Yeah. Anyway, so people go, if you don't know Thomas, please go and have a look at Thomas's page. And we're going to be getting a lot of wisdom from him on Wednesday.
No, I'm just okay. I don't know about wisdom, just experience and whatever I have collected in my basket over the last 35 something years.
We've all got great wisdom and experience and
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Love
okay.
you.
Ciao. Bye. Take care.